Hi, my name is Sue Jeffers. Welcome to our continuing series on Meet the Candidates. Folks, Election Day is just around the corner, and never before has an election been as important as this election. The candidates we've introduced you to over the last few months are fabulous candidates. They're looking out for you. They understand that government is out of control, not only in its size, its expense, its intrusion, and it is my pleasure today to introduce you to Tim Utz. Hi, Tim.
How you doing, Sue?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Again.
Again, yes. It's been a year we've been working at this now.
And we've been working hard.
Yes, we have.
And I am so happy with the caliber of candidates that we've introduced people to. Yes. They are phenomenal candidates, and
I'm looking forward to working with them at the state in St. Paul.
And I met you over at the Capitol.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden you started paying attention and you said, oh my gosh, what is going on over here? And now you've been busting your butt. I'm so proud of you. The response and the reception for you has been absolutely incredible. Let's give people an update. What's happened since the last time we chatted?
Well, we've been hitting it precinct by precinct around the district, and I think we got 7 more weeks. I think we have 5 more precincts to go. And so we've been focusing now in the last week up in the northern part of Fridley area, right along the Coon Rapids border. And it's Springbrook Nature Center up in that area. And it's semi-democratic, it's a little bit of split of both. But we've been having a lot of fun up there, meeting people and greeting people. And a lot of undecideds are up there. We come across, this is probably the precinct where the most people come up and decided by just meeting me, talking to me, or asking me the basic question, what do you do about government spending? And I say, we got to cut government spending. They go, you got my vote. They don't ask me another question. They just want to know if I'm going to stop spending the government spending money. So,
government spending's the number one
right,
issue that you're
right.
hearing people talk about, not jobs in the economy. It's
intrusion
government spending.
Intrusion of government and government spending. Yeah, they're not worried. I don't run across people worried about taxes, because if you don't reduce spending, you're never going to reduce taxes. So they've got the flowery stuff at the surface, which is taxes. You get the reality of government spending, and people have got that figured out. Tell
us some of the stories you've been hearing on what's happened out on the campaign trail.
Well, the really fun one was just the other day. We had a gal who, we were coming to an intersection. We had a car it's in a residential area, so we had a car on the left, car on the right. We waved them on, and one went. The other lady's kind of motioning at our bus, so I got out to go introduce myself, and she says, well, my son wants to see the bus go by. So I said, well, do you want to go inside the bus? So she got, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, my son wants to. So they pull over, we pull over, and this kid's maybe 2 years old, and I chuckled to myself. I go, this kid hardly knows what his name is, but he liked the bus. So we go in the bus, and his mother was honestly more excited than he was about being in the bus. And I asked her, I said, well, why are you supporting my campaign? And she goes, because I see your bus all the time, and I know you're serious about this. I don't have any philosophical, political reasons or principled reasons. She just likes the fact that I'm out there trying. So I go, okay, I'll take your vote.
And you have been working so hard, and as a lot of our candidates are, but nonstop, virtually nonstop. I love your big green bus. I see it everywhere.
It's our best tool. Best tool. Yeah, you can't beat that. We were just at Fridley's football game last Friday, and I couldn't go because I had family commitments at home, but a couple of our staff members went there, and one of them hadn't been out with the bus before, and when he saw the reaction of people, he goes, I got 9 out of 10 people waving and honking and smiling, and once in a while you get somebody that's not too happy and they ignore you. But he goes, if this is an indication, Tim, you've got this thing licked by a landslide, because the people are out there. And then they actually had the football game, and I guess it was a lot of people. So we got 4 or 5 games we're going to be attending this year between Fridley and Columbia Heights, and the bus is really popular. Park it out by the entrance of the bus. I go out there, meet and greet people and wave, and so that's coming up now too. So if anybody wants to come out and help us with that, you're welcome to come out.
Any of the football games.
Any of the football games, right?
Fabulous.
Yep.
We're confident of a victory in November once you're sworn in to office in January. What's the first bill you want to introduce?
Balancing the budget, and honestly, we have to take strong measures. And I was 2 years ago, I was a proponent of across-the-board sweep. That didn't, the people in office picked and choose winners and losers within government support and taxation. We got a bigger mess now. It's probably 3 times. It was $1 billion before. Now it was $3 billion this year. Now it's going to be $8 billion. They just keep kicking the can down the road. And it's just, we have to take the stance. We have to cut across. And that includes folks out there, education, which is 40%. K-12 education is 40% of the state budget. And I disagree with any politician, anybody running for office, anybody in office that says we can ignore education. You can never ignore 40% of your budget, whether it's government, business, or personal, and balance on the rest of your budget. It doesn't happen. And we're at the point now where we have to cut across the board.
I think you're exactly right, because you look at K through 12, 40% of the budget. You got higher ed's another 10% of the budget, and they're looking for boatloads of money for pre-K.
Right. Yeah, and that's another whole can of worms, billions of dollars that they want to add to this to education, and we don't have the money. The money's not out there.
Reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Constitutionally, the whole purpose of education in Minnesota is to preserve our republic. So you ask yourself, what part of state spending is preserving the republic? And education, very, very little, if any of it. I could take 10 kids, seniors at any school in the state of Minnesota, ask them basic questions like, what's the name of your BPLU? What's what district are you in? Who's your current representative? And I could take 10 questions, they'd probably 95% of them flunk. Mm-hmm. And that's just fundamental. That's not even getting into the serious issue of what our Constitution is all about, and the powers of the people, and the powers of government, and the restrictions of constitutional limits of government. That's just talking about where do you live. And I know they fail. I
frequently use your campaign as examples of something wonderful to do. And remember when you used to hand out your litmus?
Yeah, when I had money. Yeah,
was the Constitution?
Yeah, in 2008 I had more money than I have this year. This year I got business cards and that's it. But the people are saying, I tell you, they stick it in their pocket and they go home and do their research. I did another story. I had a guy a week ago. He was a very disenfranchised Republican. He had nothing to do with voting anymore. And so I said, well, here's my card. Do your responsibility and check me out. So we went by this last weekend and ran across him again. He's sold. He's just sold. He goes, this is Tim, you got my vote. Because I'm not beating around the bush.
Right. So you've earned their votes, and now it's so important that people take what they know about you, including your work ethic and your principles that you stand for, and have them go out and tell their friends and neighbors.
We stopped 2 weeks ago, actually campaigning. We've switched the mode now to just saying thank you for your support in November. We automatically get out of the bus, walk up and give them a business card and say thank you for your vote in November. Now, we get we get one reaction, yeah, you're right on, I can't wait. We get a reaction of, are you kidding me? I'm not voting for you. Hell freezes over or whatever. And then the other one is, what? Who are you? Who are you is very, 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 very small percentage of the population that we run across. And then another small percent is the ones that don't want nothing to do with us. But I'm not joking when I say 80 to 90% of the people that come across are ready to vote for us. And that's across the board. That's not picking out Republicans or Democrats or Independents. That's just going down the street and meeting the people in the street. That's the rate we're running at. Now, last year it was probably half were interested in our campaign and supporting it. So we've had a huge increase in the support.
Well, and your signs are everywhere.
Yes, and we don't have my opponent, for whatever reason, the Democrats in our district are not putting out signs. I don't know why. In the Senate, the House race, the national races for the
Nobody wants
Congress,
them?
They're not out. I don't understand it. Why? There's 48 days left. When are you going to put your yard signs out?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So people who have been watching this show and following you know that you track legislation from the beginning.
I try to, right? Yeah.
First day of the session.
Right.
Your updates are phenomenal. Yeah. People should sign up on your website. What's your website?
TimUtzForHouse.com.
Tim Utz for
and we're on Facebook.
Yeah. And I follow you on Twitter. I follow you on Facebook. I've been to your
website. I don't know that, so thank you for following me.
Yes, and I retweet your information because some of it's pictures. You
right? Yeah, we do a lot of photography.
Yes, you at the.
In fact, our photographer's here today taking pictures of our event.
But that's good. Yep. Whether it was you at the state fair, you on the bus, you in a parade, you with constituents. I mean, the pictures are really fun to look at too. But you also talk about issues. And last legislative session, you spent a lot of time addressing individual bills that were being rammed down our throat.
Yep.
And I want to talk a little bit about the single subject rule.
Okay, in our Constitution, and I've got it right here, and I'm going to read it to everybody. In Article 4, Section 17, it clearly states, laws to embrace only one subject. No law shall embrace more than one subject, which shall be expressed in its title. There's no ambiguity. You don't need 3 PhDs and 14 courts to figure this out. It's a very simple statement in the Constitution for the legislature that when you introduce a bill, it has to be one subject, and the subject has to be in the title of the bill. That doesn't happen in St. Paul. Very, very rarely does it happen. We got the word omnibus. Is that I believe that's how you
Omnibus,
say it.
yep.
Omnibus,
That's
yeah,
exactly how you
omnibus,
say it.
Yeah.
It means trouble.
It means trouble. It means illegality as far as the Constitution is concerned and I'm concerned. But it happens. Why? Because we are too busy living our lives and letting government do its thing. So we're going to talk today about one bill specifically.
It's very simple. One bill, one subject.
And
we have
House File 1.
House File 1.
Special session.
And we have to explain this to people.
Right. I'll let you explain it. Go ahead.
You mentioned before how the legislators just continue to kick the can down the road, to continue to push the problems off for another legislative session to deal with. We have a law on the books in our Constitution that says we have to have a balanced budget. So technically, right now, our budget is balanced. But they continued to spend way more money than the state of Minnesota has coming in, and that's why we have a deficit coming up. Because they couldn't get their work done during the legislative session last year, they had to have a one-day special, technically
2-day special session.
But it was only
one physical day.
One physical day, right. Yes. And so they had this House File 1, right. And that's what they all put together to end the horrible legislative session that we had.
Correct.
Called 2010.
Yes.
And House File 1, very few people know about it. Both sides, Republicans and Democrats, Governor Pawlenty came out and they crowed about how wonderful House File 1 was. It was a victory for everybody. In my opinion, it was a disaster, and it hurt the people of Minnesota and the great state of Minnesota.
I will let the people of Minnesota decide if it hurts them or not, because on our show here, we got across the bottom, you'll see scrolling the actual link to this text. So they can make that decision on there, but I would agree with you, but I want them to take their due diligence and responsibility and look for themselves.
All they have to do is go to type in your search engine, Minnesota Department or Minnesota House of Representatives.
Right.
Type it in, and there'll be some other choices that you can look at. Click on the one that says bills.
Right.
And all you have to do is type in House File 1.
Special session.
Special session.
Right.
And it's
it
the only bill there.
Right. Right.
And there it is.
Right. And what I got here, folks, and I'm going to hold this up to the camera.
Yeah.
And we're on that camera, I believe. Okay, this is House File 1 Special Session. All 203 pages of lovely fine print and special treatment. This is it right here. So we're going to go through this today, but there's 203 pages. So I got a couple things I just want to say about House File 1. This is actually adopted from the Senate. And technically, there's a lot of technicality that goes on, and I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. But basically, the House had a bill sent over to the Senate modified it and sent it back to the House, and the House approved it. That's basically what happened. So this is the House Version 1 modified and approved by the Senate and approved by the House. It was introduced in the morning of, I believe it was May 18th or 17th.
17th or 18th.
Yep. And by the afternoon, early afternoon, they had signed off and approved it. It's 203 pages long. What we're going to do today, Sue, is we're going to go through some of the things that I have issues with as far as what's involved here and the special treatment of different groups and organizations, and just talk about some of the highlights of the bill. Now, like I said, there's a lot in here, and this one subject rule has been violated multiple times in this bill. But I just want to, we'll just quickly, as fast, for how much time we got.
I would like to point out too, who would have time to read all this?
Who has time to write it? Modify all the sections of state statute that are in here. And I don't know if you can see it or not. I'll hold this up. If you can, we'll take a shot off camera 3 over there. What I want you to hold this up is all that little fine print that you see right there is all the subdivisions and different chapters and state statutes that were modified by this bill. Then there's 50 or 60 of them in here, and these are large sections of state statute. They're not just small ones.